Hi everybody, it's a 4:15 on Tuesday, 4th December. This is the Assassin's Time, and I am Uriol Rodriguez. Today we have 5 forensic anthropologists with us in the radio studio, which will explain us some different serial murders. Now, first of all, we will listen to a record report from the anthropologist Julia Arellano, who will talk about Patrick Spitman.
Good morning. I work in the forensic lab at the New York Psychotic Personality Detection Unit, and today I will talk about a serial murderer named Patrick Bateman. His profile is fairly typical in serial murderers: attractive, with a natural ability to attract women and a charming smile. He attracts his victims with his beauty, serenity, and honest appearance. He's a great supporter of animals and human rights, unless you happen to be a prostitute. He picks blonde women, young, tall, and preferably with a good body. His techniques are inspired of beheading, tearing the skin, drinking their blood, torture, and sadomasochistic practices. It's one of the worst murderers because it cheats you with his easy smile, his cultural looks, and his money to open a world of possibilities to do what he pleases. Egocentric to the absolute limits, he killed to feel murder, breaking the established patterns because the man's car was better than his own.
Thanks, Julia. And you, Victoria, which another murder could you explain?
I will explain the history of Elizabeth Bathory. Elizabeth Bathory was born in Hungary in 1516 into a noble family. She was promised in marriage to Count Feded Nadasdy at the age of 11. She lived in a famous castle, a Count Dam and Gloomy castle, and Count Nadasdy was always away in the battle, and Elizabeth lives in that castle became uneventful. Elizabeth Bathory tortured and killed many women. After her husband died, Elizabeth found many lovers. This blew up Elizabeth's egos and making her believe she was the most beautiful woman. Elizabeth feared the age would take about her beauty. Elizabeth Bathory decided would bait in a young woman's world. A woman were young upside down while they were still alive, and their throats were slit to prepare Elizabeth's bath. Many were put in cages that had spikes within. The victim squared in this small cage, and if they fall asleep, they will be impaled. Elizabeth was never sent to trial because of her status, but her partners in crime were sentenced to death and by burning, while she was condemned to be imprisoned within a tower of her own castle. With only a small hole of food and air, Elizabeth Bathory was found dead during 1614 at the age of 54. If you don't believe in the existence of vampires, please think again.
Wow, this topic is very interesting. I would like to know more examples. Marta, can you explain another assassin?
Well, Uriol, I think I have the story of a murderer. I'm sure that I would like to surprise you. I would like to explain the story of a murderer who chose their victims by their smell. Jean-Baptiste Grenouille was a man who was born in France. Raised in an orphanage, he grows with a superhuman sense of smell. He had something that made him different. He has not a smell. After growing to maturity as a talent apprentice, he makes his first delivery to Paris, where he discovers new smells. There, one day, he focuses on a red-haired girl who is selling plants. He follows her and repeatedly tries to sniff her, scaring her with his conduct. In order to prevent her screams, he covers the girl's mouth and unintentionally suffocates her. After realizing that he is dead, he smells her all over, becoming distracted when her odor disappears. Afterward, Jean-Baptiste becomes obsessed with change the smell of the girl. After this, he goes to Grace to learn to distill the essence of a woman in a fragrance. There, he tests different methods until he finds the good, called maceration. Grenouille murders beautiful young girls, capture their fragrance, and leave their next bodies around the city, creating panic. Finally, its success and creates a perfect perfume.
Well, and you, Jonathan? You talk about for a famous character of the history, no?
Yes, the origin of vampires come from a 15th century emperor named Vlad Dracul, known as Count Dracula. He was born in Transylvania in 1431 and died in battle in Bucharest. Emperor Vlad was very patriotic, though his methods of punishing criminals was what gave him his bloodthirsty reputation. Vlad had a predilection of impaling, a technique of torture and execution of introducing a stick of about 3.50 meters and long in the rectum, tying into the meat with a nail and then lifting the victim to die slowly. Supposedly, between 40,000 and 100,000 people died in this way, or thought other methods of torture at the hands of the men of the impaler during the 7 years duration of a successive reigns, enemies, traitors, criminals, and more. In addition, other methods of torture used by the Prince of Wallachia, Vlad, were the amputation of limbs, nose, and ears, strangling, the stake, castrating, and flying. In literature and film was the model of the horror genre and vampire. Saints in this said that he drank the blood of their victims in glasses while eating in front of the impale. His sadistic personality was taken by Bram Stoker to model his play Dracula, written in 1897.
Impressionant. And finally, Marion is going to talk about Hannibal Lecter.
Yes, Hannibal Lecter was born in 1938 in Lithuania, and he belonged to a very wealthy family. He also had a younger sister. When he was 6 years old, he witnessed both his parents killed, and he and his younger sister were taken by the men who killed his parents. Later, those men killed Lecter's sister, and this was what made him lost his faith. Later, he was put in a government-owned orphanage where he lived for 10 years, and when he was 16, he left and went to live on the street. He stayed with his aunt and then went to school. He was very intelligent, but he could not get along well with the other children his age. Lecter moved then to Baltimore, where he started his own psychiatric practice. He became very popular, and he moved to New York, where he became a part of a mental institution that provides counseling and aid to patients. As in police records, Lecter killed at least 9 people before he got captured, and the last 6 were killed in a short period of time. All of his victims were partially disfigured, and Lecter himself confessed to eating parts of his victims. He targeted men he considered mean and rude, and his motivation was to seek revenge for Misha, his sister, and to restore the dignity for his beloved sister. He seemed very soft-spoken, mild-mannered, and very calm, and he was clean-shaven and very warm.
Well, this is all. Thanks everybody, and be careful with murders. See you in the next program.